millions of people. So joining us now to talk about all of this, we have Matt Schlapp, former political director for George W. Bush and chairman of the American Conservative Union. Matt, great to have you here in studio.
Good to see you all.
It's an exciting day.
See you.
You too.
Yeah, it's our Super Bowl.
It is your Super Bowl.
And I'm glad that it seems like all early indicators are that a lot of people are going to vote.
Yes.
Which I think is a great indicator.
What do you think about that ad? So the ad,
I love that ad.
You didn't love that. But are you surprised that even Fox News, which let's face it, has been a booster of President Trump, that they found it so objectionable that they pulled it?
Well, I mean, I've run a lot of campaigns where ads get pulled, and a lot of times controversial ads get pulled. And there's a lot about immigration that is controversial. And so I think probably their lawyers felt like there was some legal, vulnerability to keep running it. I don't think it's a racist ad. I think it's a hard-hitting ad.
And just to challenge you on that.
Yeah.
Why don't you think it was a racist ad?
I just think we throw that term around way too casually, which is there is a serious problem with illegal immigration and crime. I worked for President George W. Bush. We didn't really focus on the downsides of illegal immigration. We always tried to talk about having a welcoming policy and trying to find a way to welcome into society.
And this is so different.
Over time, I have to say, one of the things that we made, those of us who are pro-immigration Republicans, the mistake we made is, kind of glossing over the downsides of having an immigration system that you don't have control of. And one of those downsides is that people who are in the middle class and people who are starting off on the economic ladder, they lose opportunities because you have people working on the black market who are working, subsistence wages, sometimes wages below the minimum wage. And that's the problem with illegal immigration. It hurts regular people.
The argument that you're making right now is completely different than what that ad means.
I didn't love that ad.
But I mean, just to be clear, because the president tweeted this out, so I think that we are in a different universe than what you're talking about. The president endorsed this ad.
Right.
And it found the most heinous sort of psychopathic double murderer to feature from 4 years ago on the same week that actually 11 Jews were killed in a synagogue that the president wasn't focused on. And so he
was focused, and he went to visit, and the rabbi, welcomed him there, and he has a son-in-law and a daughter who are Jewish.
Yes.
The president treats the state of Israel as one of our closest allies.
But what the president did say...
That's not fair to him to say that he didn't take that tragedy seriously.
Well, I didn't say he didn't take it seriously. I said that he decided to put out an ad about an old heinous crime rather than a current heinous crime.
I don't think that's right. I think, look, there's a big criminal problem when you don't have an immigration system that is orderly and follows the law.
I hear you, but you know that stats don't support that. You know that all of the research suggests that actually immigrants commit less crime than people who are born in America.
Immigrants. People who come here legally, like my relatives and my wife's relatives, you go through a very arduous system with lots of background checks, and it takes a lot of time. And the reason for that is you want to make sure you have people who come to America, whether as a legal resident or a future citizen, who will abide by our laws. When you have an illegal immigration system, which we also have, let's face it, there's a whole black market to all of immigration. And when you have illegal immigration, it doesn't go, those people don't go through that process.
But you know that
you get a lot more crime.
I mean, but you know that everything that we're talking about, which is migrants who are somewhere like 800 to 1,000 miles away, that they are trying to apply for asylum. That is our legal
You and
system.
I had this conversation about 10
still
days ago,
exists.
and we talked about the fact that you felt like this caravan, even when it gets here, that no one will actually be able to stay in the country. And the numbers I went back and looked at were we have 125,000 at the most conservative of the types of people, whether unaccompanied children at the border, families who come to the border, who actually are detained and are released into the interior of our country. When these people come here, especially if they come with kids, they will be processed and they will be allowed to reside in America. If they miss their first hearing...
This is our process.
Yes, it does.
It does not.
No, because...
Those folks don't necessarily commit crime. You're making a huge logical leap to crime.
Let me start at the beginning. I am a pro-immigration Republican. I do not support...
You don't sound like one
I don't support... Well, maybe you should meet my wife. I don't support the efforts to reduce legal immigration. What I do support is the efforts to make sure that our immigration system allows us to have the people that will help our society be stronger and fuel our economy.
All of that,
the way rushing the southern border...
Seeking asylum is legal.
The problem is you don't have to rush the border to do it.
They're not,
you can go to any port of entry. You can go
That's right. That's what they're doing.
No,
they're showing
they're not.
you can also just show up at the border. You can present yourself to a customs agent and ask to seek asylum.
And the problem with
listen, you and I are struggling with this, okay?
I'm not struggling.
You are, because
I'm
this
not.
is legal. You're trying to suggest that what's happening is illegal. It's not.
What I'm trying to suggest is that if you need asylee or refugee status and you're coming from Central America, you can apply for that refugee status in Mexico, which is the next continuous country for most of these folks. You don't have to rush the border. Why do they rush the border? They rush the border because we are overwhelmed. Now, 1 out of 10 people are saying that they have a credible threat and they want to be a political asylee. Most of these folks, if you actually interview them, and I watched a lot of CNN's coverage, they're economic refugees. I feel sorry for their economic plight, but that does not get you in America.
Okay, what our larger issue is do you think that this is a winning closing argument from the president? It's not the positive
Immigration?
the anti-immigration stance that
Anti-illegal
he has taken,
immigration.
the fear-mongering.
No.
You don't see that
No, not at all.
You think that
because I'm a
Fox pulled it
pro-immigration.
just for yucks they would
Let me
pull an
try.
ad?
Look, let me try. I know that you're not going to think that what I'm saying is credible, but I believe that the biggest threat to a vigorous legal immigration system is the American people losing confidence in immigration because they see the downsides of unchecked illegal immigration. If we don't stop what's happening with illegal immigration, I think our laws that allow for a vigorous legal immigration system will lose political support. We're going to have a big election tomorrow, and immigration is becoming a more and more controversial question.
And you've made this point, but that ad said nothing like that. That ad featured a psychopath.
He was an illegal immigrant who killed a cop.
Two.
Yeah.
My point is, so you would stick with that. That's what you would close with.
No, as I told you, that's not my favorite ad. I like talking about the economy. I don't have any problem with talking about the economic consequences of unchecked illegal immigration.
Yeah.
I'm for it. Look, and I'm someone, I worked for President Bush. I understand the idea that we want to have a welcoming policy. We cannot continue to have millions of people get amnesty or talk about amnesty in this country. I think that's a big mistake.
Okay. Just one interesting thing about the direction of the country. There's this new NBC poll. More people think that we're on the wrong track. 54%, I'll put it up, believe we're on the wrong track versus 38% who believe that we're on the right.
The most important poll. The most important poll.
Is today's vote?
No, is the right track, wrong track figure. To me...
Oh, so tell me how that's possible with the economy going
Well, I didn't read this poll. I don't know what the right track is. You're talking about the wrong track. What's the right track?
38%.
Okay, so...
And 54 wrong track.
If that's right, 38%, when presidents have been below 40% in the right track, they've often had midterm losses. If you look at the average of all of those right track, wrong track, Donald Trump has been right at 40%, not Donald Trump, the country has been right at 40%, which will definitely accrue to his benefit. When presidents dip far below that 40% like Obama did for almost all of his presidency, you have a hard time, when the American people don't feel good about the future. So the 40% number, you might look at that and say that's low. That's actually historically high. That is a very high number to reach.
Okay, but we're at 38%. But either way,
well, that poll says we're at 30. If you take the average, we're right at 40.
Okay. If Republicans lose the House today, whose fault will it be?
Look, Donald Trump is the biggest political figure I've seen, certainly in my lifetime. There's no question that people will say it's about Trump, whether he does well, or whether the party does well, or the party does poorly. Here's the problem with that, or at least from my side, the good side of that. I don't see any scenario where we don't have a very good night in the Senate. The legislative process in Congress is pretty broken. We don't pass a lot. I heard your conversation previously. We just don't do that anymore. We can all go into the reasons. What really matters to this president is confirming judges. I think we'll have another Supreme Court opening in the next 18 months. I think he'll have more votes, so we don't have to worry about maybe the less reliable members of our conference. And he's going to keep pushing on regulations. It's about a strong executive. Barack Obama started that trend, and this is continuing.
Interesting perspective, Matt Schlapp. Thank you very much. No one knows, as we say, what will happen tonight, but these predictions are fascinating. Thanks so much. John.
Just one brief correction to that conversation. Matt said polls open tomorrow. There's an election tomorrow. There's an election today.
I said tomorrow?
You said tomorrow.
Stop trying to
It's Groundhog Day.
Don't you know why you're here? You're voting right now.
Stop trying to suppress the vote by saying
I have proof. When I see